since ours is a prototype, it's not going to be my car to drive around. I'm going to rig it up where we can do it both ways. And so when you hit the brakes, it'll simply switch to the brake pot with a relay. And when you take off the brakes, it will go back to the
to the throttle pot.
The throttle pot.
Yeah.
And I think that'll work pretty well. It'll be a little strange, but you'll be able to adjust either one of them. You can turn one all the way down or turn the other one all the way down. And so that's the latest strategy in regenerative braking, but it points out that it's really some of the human factors. I've been scratching my head for months. I know when the car's at 80% depth of discharge, but how do I let my daughter use the car without draining the batteries? And so we call it daughter mode, and I'm playing with something all the time for that. And so it is some of these human factors that are the thorniest problems, and they look easy on the surface. And you start digging into them, and it's like an onion. It's just got one layer after another. Finally, I think we're going to see something that's a little gory. I'm going to go on record and predict this right now. I know a lot of people are concerned about our carbon footprint and the planet. I got to tell you, I'm not one of them. I don't like carbon monoxide and smelly stuff. And I think we could do without the pollution generally, but I'm not really in fear of the global warming. Participating in the largest transfer of wealth in the history of the world does bother me.
That's a different story. Yeah.
And so that's part of what this is about, is I'm sticking a stick in the sand. I don't have to go to your gas station. If I want to, I can just go drive electric. And there's not a way for them to really squeeze me on the electricity without cutting off everybody in the country. And that's not going to happen. No. So that's one of the reasons I like electric. I think we're going to see a Chevy Volt and a Nissan Leaf and a Coda and a number of these small four-door sedan type electric cars at the $40,000 and $45,000 range. I think there's going to be a big hoopla when they introduce them, a fight to get them, and within a year, they're not going to be able to sell them. They'll have gone through all the low-hanging fruit of the people really desperately wanting an electric car, and it's going to be a bloodbath. That's not really the end of the electric car to me.
No, just the beginning.
It's this has been through several waves over the year. Every time the gasoline goes up, it gets to be a thing. When the gasoline goes down, then it wanes a little bit. I think these car companies are overpromising. Toyota regularly announces a car, and the Prius is the top-selling car in Japan now. But about every 3 months, one of their senior executives comes out and says, but I don't think people will buy these. And I'm afraid he's right. Not in the numbers they're talking about, not an ordinary little sedan that happens to be electric. You need something pretty special.
Yeah.
And if you're going to pay that kind of premium, it better be on a nice car. I'm not sure $157,000 is where to be, but certainly an upscale car that you would desire. I'd like to have a 53 Corvette that was electric. And of course I like the 57 Speedster. The Mini Cooper's kind of an exercise in more complicated systems, but it's got a lot of room in it and some neat systems. I kind of like the little car. I think it's going to be, I keep eyeing my Escalade. I think that puppy, I've got to look some more. The book is you can't use an automatic transmission with an electric motor. I guess I'm not convinced. I think there's some things we can do. So that's where I think it's going. Meanwhile, there's going to be tons of batteries available because all the OEMs that are not using all of them. And tons of other components. We already have a Prius air conditioning compressor in the back I want to play with that I think is considerably cheaper than our air conditioning compressor we're going to use in the Mini, and that pretty much gets us into today's work. We're going to do a little bit with our controllers. The coming out the other side of the bloodbath.
Oh, okay.
We've got
Back to the
another
bloodbath.
bloodbath coming. I got a thing in the mail from one of these West investment houses. It's not very reliable information, but it sure got me thinking. And that is about the Saudi oil reserves and the OPEC oil reserves. Did you know that their quota, what they can sell in OPEC, is based on their reserves?
No, didn't know that.
And they kind of just claim a number as their reserve.
Oh, yeah, who knows?
And they sell oil, but the reserves never go down. In fact, they go up, and they often go up with no exploration at all. When Aramco was nationalized in 1979, the proven reserves in Saudi Arabia were 110 billion barrels. They're claiming 260 billion barrels now, and they've never discovered any more oil.
And obviously no one's seen the reserves.
How can that be? No
That's right.
one's seen the reserve. In fact, we don't really get the data.
That's right.
They kind of tell us what they want us to know. And similarly, Venezuela and the other oil-producing nations, there's actually a built-in incentive to play a game of liar's poker.
Yeah, to inflate the
That's
inflate
what
the
they're
reserves.
doing. It's payday, and they're playing liar's poker. The higher reserves they have, the higher
higher-
their quota
yeah.
to sell.
The more you can sell.
What if they don't have the oil?
Well, that would be a problem.
Well, as India
especially if you
ramps
was-
up and China ramps up,
Yeah.
and we continue to use a lot of oil,
That would be a problem.
what would happen if somebody blew the whistle and said the emperor doesn't have any clothes?
Or worse, any oil.
Or worse, the naked emperor.
We could take a naked emperor. It's I want one with oil.
I want one with oil. There's a potential of a real interesting
Yeah.
play on peak oil that is quite. It's going to be exciting times. So we're having a lot of fun with the cars. We're going to keep making them and just keep our head down and try to learn how to do this. And we're going to share with you everything we know, since I'm a big blabbermouth and better at publishing than I am
Can't
at,
tell a secret. You can't keep a secret.
manufacturing. We're not going to go in the car business. We're in the video business, but we're going to try to find out how to do this and make it work and share it with you so you can do it too. I think anybody that wants an electric car ought to be able to go out in their garage and build one.
Build one, that's right.
And we want to enable that. So, okay, Brian, I have kind of gotten a little ahead of us.
Okay.
But let me update you all on what we're doing. It's not anything particularly special. Even I can handle it. We have an opportunity in the front of the car. There's two front structural members
Right.
that have two bolts in each side that apparently are only there to hold an extension that goes to the front clip in position. But they're very stout bolts.
They are. They're really good, and they were. Yeah, the front clip goes onto them. There was nothing along the bottom of them except air. So I think making use of that space in front of the motor and transmission is going to be great.
Well, we need to mount some things, and so I'm looking for places to mount them. And so we're going to do what's going to look like a lower skid plate.
Okay.
That'll be underneath and so forth. You don't need to do this at home. In fact, you don't need to do it at all. The skid plate's real simple. It's 12 inches wide and 36 inches long.
Yeah.
And it can be anything.
It can be anything.
You could use plywood. It should properly be steel, I would think.
Yeah.
Some mild
steel would be good. Yeah.
Because you're going to be running over things and so forth. It's right in the front of the car.
It is. Yep.
Steel's a little heavy. It would be strong, and I like to mess around with materials.
That's right. We're always playing with something.
And so what I've been playing with here recently is some aircraft material. Actually, this is carbon fiber on two sides with sort of a paper honeycomb material in between it. And it's a true honeycomb.
Okay.
And so it's some very thin carbon fiber over this essentially cardboard honeycomb thing.
Really what it looks like a
Makes
box.
It
Yeah.
gives it some really good stiffness. The carbon fiber has a couple of properties. One, it makes little splinters that get in my fingers.
They're everywhere.
They're tiny. They're painful. You have to extract them with tweezers under a magnifying glass. So this stuff is really not fun to work with. But it has some interesting properties. I was playing with a heater.
Right.
An electric heater for Speedster Part Duh. And we made the chassis that holds the little positive temperature coefficient elements out of this material. Inside, we get close to 200 degrees.
It was hot it's hot in the box, yeah.
On the outside of this, it would be in the mid-70s.